How would you feel if your boss told you that you must take an extra hour per day off, or an extra day of the week off? Or you are your own boss, but there was something or someone that would make you actually tune off for a whole day, 24 hours and rest. For those that are business owners, you know what I'm talking about. Being your own boss, it's not as easy as many think. You're no longer working 9 to 5. You work 24 hours a day. But can you imagine if you could just take 24 hours and rest? For me, that would be the greatest gift. Because if depended on me, I would never rest. Well, that's exactly the gift God gave humanity right at creation. In Genesis 2:2, you find that. But most of us have joined the rat race of life, sometimes by choice, others for the lack of choice. Either way, we have forgotten the gift and really don't even understand how precious and meaningful this gift is. Jesus calls us to give him all of our burden, to unwind and rest in him. Jesus knows how stressful and busy is our lives, and he gives us a way of escape. And best of all, because it is an order from the all-powerful creator God, we shouldn't even feel guilty about it. The gift I'm talking about is the Sabbath. This great gift was made for man, humanity, and it was given at creation 2,000 years before the existence of the first Jewish person. Then again, after humanity had distanced themselves from God and completely forgot what was to be God's people, while in the desert, God reminded them of this gift by giving them the 10 Commandments, where the 4th commandment says, remember. Interesting that it says remember. The Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all of your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. Instead of allowing the business of life to consume our entire life, God gives us an entire day that we can spend quality time with him and with family and friends. Now look at how incredible the connection we find in the 4th commandment and creation, Genesis 1:1. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. The 7th day is a memorial of creation. Just like we celebrate 4th of July or someone's birthday every year, that is what the Sabbath is. It is a holiday, a holy day, that we stop everything and we celebrate creation and the creator. But instead of once a year, it's once a week. What is quite interesting is how this is the only of the commandments that says remember. And for most parts, we forgot. And how this is the commandment that is most attacked. Most of the Christianity was convinced that the 7-day Sabbath is not important, that we can just pick a day, that it does not have to be the 7th, and that is just for the Jews. The problem is that I don't see that choice in scriptures. The only thing the scripture says is the 7th day is the Sabbath. Besides, when people decide that they would pick a day, even that stopped happening too. And most people, even in the Christian world, don't keep any day, not even Sunday. They go to church on Sunday, but that is about it. My own theory is that the reason this is the most attacked commandment is because the enemy knew that when we forgot to celebrate the day of creation, we would also forget our creator. Just like the birthday we don't celebrate, we usually don't remember the date. The meaning of the Sabbath is so deep. It is not only the memorial of creation, but also a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord who sanctifies them. It is a sign that God is our creator. We are his people, and he is the one who can recreate in us a clean heart. So that there is no confusion, let's establish a few things here. First, Jesus himself went to the synagogue on the 7th-day Sabbath. Many say that he did this just because it was his custom. So, it was his custom. But that is a weak excuse. As we have seen it, it was given to humanity at creation. Besides, Adam, Abraham, Isaac, Moses, and all of the early Christian church kept the 7th-day Sabbath. Second, some people ask me, but how do we know if the 7th day is really the 7th day? What if some cultures there were 8-day week? Or what if the calendar would start in a different day, like some calendars start on Monday? That is a fair question, but we should not overcomplicate things. Find the first day of the week in your culture and your calendar, keep the 7th day. And if you wanted to know what is the 7th day in the time of Jesus, these verses will help you. Luke 23:56 says that after Jesus' death, the women went back to prepare spices and fragrant oils to prepare his body. But as it got late, they rested on the Sabbath. Then Luke 23:54 says that Jesus died in the day of preparation, commonly known as Good Friday. And Luke 24:1 says that Jesus resurrected in the first day of the week, also known as Easter Sunday. So if Jesus died on Friday and the ladies rested the next day because it was a Sabbath, and Jesus resurrected on Sunday, that means the 7th day, Saturday, which is between Friday and Sunday, is the Sabbath. Some believe that it is right to keep Sunday now as the Sabbath because Jesus resurrected on Sunday. However, that is a human assumption and not in scriptures. The only thing found clearly in scripture is Jesus saying that he did not come to change the law or the prophets, but to fulfill it. Plus, there are two more important passages that helps us understand that the change from Saturday to Sunday was not biblical. First is the passage in Matthew 24:20, where Jesus mentioned the destruction of Jerusalem, and he tells them to pray that it would not happen in the winter or on Sabbath. In the winter, because it's obvious how much harder it is for you to run away in the winter. And in the Sabbath, because that was so easy to get all of the Jewish people in Jerusalem on the Sabbath, because they all would be in the synagogues. This tells us that Jesus expected them to still keep the Sabbath 40 years in the future. Also, these other passages found in Acts show where Paul preaching to both Jews and Greeks Sabbath after Sabbath, showing us that the disciples, even after the death of Christ, still kept the Sabbath. The main question is, okay, why the majority of the Christian world keeps Sunday then? It was not because of anything in scriptures. The first day of the week is mentioned in scripture, but never relating to a change of Sabbath to Sunday. Basically, we can learn from history why it changed, but not from scripture. History tells us that when state and religion combined under Emperor Constantine at the time that Rome dominated the world, Constantine, a pagan worshipper of many gods, after adding the Christian God to his collection of gods, started making changes to Christianity. The Sabbath was just one of the chains influenced by Constantine. In his biography, we find other chains. He was the first one to order the making of statues. The first statue he ordered was Jesus and the disciples during the Last Supper, but adding himself as the 13th disciple. The worshipping of saints started from there. The great basilicas in Rome and also the clothing the leaders of the Roman Christian Church uses are also inspired in the emperor's vestments. In relation to the Sabbath, this is a quote from Constantine's biography. To obey God's commandment to rest on the 7th day, he chose the venerable day of the sun, our Sunday, which also had a useful meaning to those pagans who had worshipped the sun god and could thus transfer their prayers more easily. In other words, the change from Saturday to Sunday was made, or at least initiated, by a half-converted Roman emperor that didn't really understood scriptures or was faithful to God of the scriptures. Within time, it became the norm, without any scriptural backing. But we are called to worship God in spirit and in truth, and to not worship God in vain with teachings of men as if were from God.